Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Long time no see. Folks, today we're doing the NBA free agency predictions. I don't want to say how late I was up till making this. I don't want to say. I do want to point out really quickly here. If you're watching this back, we are streaming right now before the second round of the NBA draft. So I don't know what's going on in the draft or who's going where. I just want to preface that. If you're watching this back, you might be confused. But also, unless something crazy happens over the next 48 hours, but you never know, it's the NBA. It could possibly happen. Unless something crazy happens over the next 48 hours, this will be the last time I'm streaming on this channel until July 12th, which is when I return from Europe. It's also my birthday is July 12th as well. So just, yeah. Thank you. A special day. I am a Cancer. Yes, that's true. Some people say it shows. I don't know what that means. I don't know what. Let's see. Cancer behavior traits. Cancer behavior male. Let's see. They believe in vibes. Oh shit. Wait, is this real? Wait, do I believe in this stuff now? They believe in vibes and stay away if needed to save their emotions and energy. They are very dedicated to their duties. Yeah, I don't want to tell you guys, but I don't want to tell you guys how late I was up last night. They can be seen putting extra hours without any hesitation. These extremely chivalrous souls are very sensitive and get easily wounded. Nah. You guys should see some of my Twitter mentions sometimes. Being intuitive is one of the most basic Cancer traits. Cancer male characteristics include qualities like being supportive, sentimental, moody. Not moody. Just locked in all the fucking time. There's no moody swings. Family-oriented. Loyal. They have a big-time nostalgic feelings all the time and feel the longing in a very deep manner. Very traditional people? No. The kind who love deep, stay at home, and fulfill all kinds of needs of their loved ones. So if they're acting weird lately, give them some time. Give me some fucking time, guys! I'm turning 20 in 2 days, so I'm in Unk territory. You guys are so annoying, man. You guys are so annoying. I'm not even an Unk, man. You guys want to guess what July 12th, a few weeks from now, guess how old I'm turning? $34. Come on, guys. 29, 27. 23, thank you for that. 29 is in fact the age. Everything you need to know about dating a Cancer, man. Let's see. If you guys were to date me, let's see. Everything you need to know. My God, this is a 10,000 word thesis. Cancer man's best traits. One thing you can say about Cancer. He's in touch with his feelings. Seriously. He's one of the most sensitive, caring people I'll ever meet. I don't like sensitive. I don't agree with that. He's cuddly. No, not really. Romantic and wants to commit and probably even have a family. I'm getting scared. All right. Cancer man's worst traits. If you're not feeling Cancer's romantic nature, it's likely you'll find him kind of clingy. Like, he means well. But sometimes you just need your own space, you know? Cancer tends to be a homebody. I don't know if I'd consider myself a homebody. I don't think so. I don't agree with any of these. All right. Shall we get into it? No NBA news since, I streamed a few hours ago, so nothing happened. $1995, baby. That's right. That's a great birth year. 95 is an elite birth year, in my opinion. It just sounds sick. I was born in 95. 93? 93 doesn't roll off the tongue like 95 does. What's your birth year? 95. Oh shit. Like that's how I imagine people's brains working when you tell them. What year were you born? Like just, you know, at the DMV or something? 95? Oh. Yeah. He said 95. Holy shit. That's kind of how I feel. 2004? Yo, that's I was just about to say 2004, you probably shouldn't be in this stream. And then I realized that means you're 20 years old. Oh my god. That's disgusting. I was literally just about to be like, 2004, your ass should not be in here, man. Go get your mommy. (2001) just wouldn't want to share a birthday with that horrible tragedy is the problem. Before we get into the slideshow, let's start here. Friend's kid reminds me of that tragedy. Yeah, exactly. I just want to start right here. Building off of some stuff I was saying last night and just thinking about it a little bit more today. Listening to the Bill Simmons podcast and hearing them kind of talk about ESPN's coverage as well. Adam Silver, has the new TV deal been signed? Like, is that signed? July 1st, 82. What? All right, what up, man? What up, Flores? Has the TV deal been signed yet? I honestly cannot remember. Either way, Silver. You have to do something about this. Genuinely. The way that your product is presented is fucking embarrassing. It really is. It's progressively gotten worse and worse and worse. And I think it's sort of culminated this year into just a horrendous, I wouldn't say a horrendous product because I don't believe that. I think the NBA is awesome. I think there's so much great talent. I think every team is competitive and it's awesome. But I'm saying just from a production standpoint, in the way that your product is marketed and given to the consumer, it's awful. All right? It is. Full stop. And this year was the worst of all of them. The way that the finals was presented was a joke. I mean, no pageantry or anything. I don't know if it felt a lot of times when you're watching the playoffs on ESPN especially, it feels like you're watching a regular season game. It feels like you're watching a regular season sporting event. Like there's no pageantry, there's YouTube TV ads. Every square inch of the floor is embarrassing, okay? And then last night's draft coverage was so terrible, dude. It was so bad. And I get it. It's a bad draft. All of this. I understand that, okay? I understand that you got to kind of hype it up. But you had two broadcasts going on. One on ABC, one on ESPN. I tuned into the ESPN one because I don't want to listen to Stephen A. Smith. I switched over to the ABC one eventually, and I'll share why in a second. I switched over to the ABC one. We're talking about like the 10th overall pick. What does Stephen A. Smith say? He has never heard of this guy. Why is he there? He hadn't heard of the 10th overall pick? Like, can we have some shame? Like, it's one thing if we're in the second round and pick 45, and oh my God, this guy wasn't on any of our draft boards. Like, who is this? Like, that could happen in a draft. Bro. This man was talking about lottery picks saying, I don't know who he is. Oh, I've never heard of this guy. What are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Is Stephen A. Smith that entertaining and like that attractive to like random casual viewers that you have to have him on there? Horrible. Bob Myers, we don't care. Get draft people there. We don't care about Stephen A. Smith. We definitely don't care about Bob Myers. Get draft people in there. They had Gavoni, but get like 2 or 3 draft people, and they can actually talk about the picks, dissect them, talk about them. Here's what this guy does. I mean, they do well with the NFL. The NFL, like they from what I can gather, they do a good job. They have like the sob stories and stuff for every player, but that's just gonna happen whoever's broadcasting the draft because that shit does sell. My grandma sits there and watches the NFL draft and she loves it because of all of the sob stories. But like they spend time talking about the picks. Oh, this. I saw a hilarious tweet where it was like Mel Kiper in the 7th round in the NFL drafts talking about some random D3 offensive lineman that 5 people have heard of outside of his family. And Stephen A. Smith doesn't even know a top 10 picks name. Like, it's horrible. It's embarrassing. So then, that's the ABC broadcast. Horrible. The reason why I tune into that is because on the ESPN broadcast, where I think the commentary is a little bit better. Again, it's not experts, but it's a little bit better. It's Malik Andrews. It's Richard Jefferson. Like, it just flows a little bit better, in my opinion. Holly McNutt, who I think is incredible, is doing the interviews. But I go over there. They're spoiling the picks on the broadcast. Woj is spoiling the picks. Malika Andrews is spoiling the picks. Just awful. I mean, it's awful. It's horrible. Why would I want to watch? Like, if honest to God, if it weren't for this, I would not have watched. I would have turned that shit off immediately. Like, genuinely, I would not have watched at all. Because what's the point of this? Like, I'm ESPN, understand. I'm not watching it for your commentary or anything because it's terrible. Your product is awful. I'm watching it because you are broadcasting the draft. I want to watch Adam Silver walk out and tell me who the pick is, and then we react from there just collectively as NBA fans. Think back to the infamous Anthony Bennett selection where the Bill Simmons, whoa! And everyone was genuinely shocked. That's an all-time broadcasting moment. Just figure it out, man. How are you guys so clueless? Silver, you've got to fix this, man. They are destroying your product. They actually are. The way that they broadcast and present your product is horrible, man. It really is. And obviously, they're going to fork over the money during the next TV deal to continue to broadcast your product. Dude, you got to get a stranglehold on this shit. It's horrible. It just is. All right, let's get into the... Like, what? ESPN, you don't have 3 people who are like actually know the draft enough to come in and just host the show. Like, people will watch it. We're not tuning in. We're not tuning in for Stephen A. Smith, okay? We're tuning in for the draft, believe it or not. Believe it or not, we are tuning in because we want to watch the draft. Jeremy Grant video tomorrow. All right. Let's get into it. I'm just coming over here for a second. Hold up. Let's get into it, folks. NBA free agency predictions. I went back and I looked at my stream last year. Holy shit. The time and effort I must have put into that one. No way I was doing that this year. I had every player. I cropped them out. I had their little profile pictures, and then I had, every interested team listed, and I'm not doing all that shit. We're just going to have a picture of the player, and then I'll go to the next slide, and it'll be what team I think they go to. This is, admittedly, as somebody who usually dives so deep into this stuff, and usually, I was looking back at my stream last year, usually has some pretty good predictions. I truthfully just don't know. Like, I'm not as plugged in due to the Mavericks making an extended finals run, obviously, as plugged into free agency rumors as I usually am. But I did catch up, and I think I got some interesting ones. No, I trust me, I still care. You should include the Mikal trade for future viewers. Yeah, I should have done that. I should have done that. That would have been a good one. I just think Diddy Avdia goes to the Blazers, man. I don't know what it is. So here we go. And if you're new here, if this is your first time here, I want you to understand the level of dedication in which I pour into things. I'm a very passionate individual. The stuff I'm passionate about, I really care about, which is why we're starting this with Xavier Tillman. And I'm doing this to prove a point and send a message. This is the type of shit I'm on. Whenever I'm doing predictions, I'm not just sitting here, well, where's Donovan Mitchell going to go? Where's LeBron going to go? I'm sitting here and talking about Xavier fucking Tillman as well. Okay? This is the slightly biased experience. You understand? And maybe it's because Xavier Tillman, I was in person, Game 3 of the NBA Finals. hit that corner three. I wouldn't really call it a dagger because the Mavericks were losing anyways, but that one hurt quite a bit. Now, the Celtics do have some interesting stuff going on. So KP, some news here. Surgery will be out 5 to 6 months. In my research preparing for this, deep in the crevices with some Boston Celtics forums and stuff, there's some like concern that he might be out until the spring, which is a little bit interesting. Also considering, one, Luke Cornett's a free agent. I don't have him in here. I think they'll probably bring him back. And two, Al Horford's getting older and older. So they do kind of need some bigs. They do need some bigs, and that would be like a nice addition for them. However, they just don't really have a lot of assets to do it. So I think Xavier Tillman returning to the Celtics makes a ton of sense. Versatile defender for his size. The three's in his bag. It just sucks that he hit it against the Mavericks when he just wasn't taking them all playoffs. But they did draft a power forward. But, you just really can't rely on rookies at all. And they got, Jordan Walsh. Let's not forget him. Dennis Smith Jr. Was one of the better backup point guards at times last year for the Brooklyn Nets. Obviously, the Brooklyn Nets are, obviously the Brooklyn Nets are heading a different direction. Dennis Smith Jr. Could this be the year Dennis Smith Jr. returns to the Dallas Mavericks? Mavs fans have been clamoring for it. They kind of need a backup guard. What are some of the other options? I predicted Tillman back to Boston. I considered some teams. I thought Denver low-key made a lot of sense. They're not going to have a lot of money. They're going to need a backup guard. Reggie Jackson did pick up his option, but another guard would be nice for them, especially considering it seems as though KCP might be leaving. We'll get to that. A lot of teams with guards, I think, will be calling about Dennis Smith Jr., who I think he's a good player, just bounces around from bad situation to bad situation. Is this the time he finally ends up on a winning team? I'm saying yes. The Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns are my selection. Thought that they might draft, what's that kid's name? Tyler Kolek. Last night with their draft pick. They needed a point guard. Not to say Dennis Smith Jr. is like a great, floor general or anything like that. But if it's the minimum contract, if that's his market, I could kind of see the Phoenix Suns making sense here as a backup guard, somebody who can play some defense and just kind of fits in well in a team role. I don't know if there's any rumors or speculation behind this or anything like that, but it just kind of made sense in my brain. Nuggets GM came out and said Brown is ready to start if they lose KCP. Yeah, we're going to get to KCP. He's gone, for sure. Ryan Dunn and Dennis Smith Jr. on defense next to KD Book is interesting. Yeah. Kolek's going undrafted because he can't read or write. That's not true, is it? That's not true. Is it? Tell me it's not true. Yes, and I think this would give him a chance to actually play on a contending team. That's a fake rumor? Okay, that's crazy. That's even a rumor. Dennis Schroeder, also a Brooklyn Nets point guard. I think kind of an under-the-radar guy. I still think Dennis Schroeder's a good player. And I think he'll wind up on a contending team somewhere. I think he'll wind up on a contending team, and there will be moments throughout the season where we're like, fuck, how did they get Dennis Schroeder? How did they land him? Now, he is under contract, I believe. So this would have to be a trade. Am I right in thinking that? Wait, hold on. Let me see. Am I right in thinking that? I looked all this up yesterday. I didn't write down any notes, which I probably should have. He is under contract. Yeah, okay, so he is definitely. He is under contract, which would mean that this would have to be a trade. I do think he changes teams. I mentioned this team a second ago, but I think the Denver Nuggets actually make a ton of sense. There's trade packages that work financially and it makes this possible. I was already seeing it. Saw some Nuggets fans sort of float this idea out there, and I actually like it quite a bit. I think it makes some sense for him. I think it makes some sense for the Nuggets. The Reggie Jackson piece of it is kind of interesting, but I think Reggie Jackson could be involved in this trade potentially. Changes the locker room too. I thought I was trying to. They drafted a big last night in the draft, but I was thinking like, what if the Nuggets went out and got a back up big. And I was looking through some Nuggets stuff. And all of their fans like, no, we want DeAndre Jordan. Like, DeAndre Jordan's too important for our locker room. Nuggets should move MPJ for pieces if they lose KCP. I think they're out of contention if KCP leaves. Is there any smoke about him? I see a lot of people like saying they should trade MPJ. There's no smoke or anything surrounding that, is there? By the way, if you guys haven't liked the stream yet, make sure you do so. It helps me out tremendously. Let's YouTube know we're having a great time, of which we are. 320 people in here on a Thursday morning. 50 likes. It's not terrible, but DeAndre Jordan is the Markieff Morris of Dwight Howard. I thought Schroeder makes some sense on the Nuggets. Schroeder's one of the, like, it's kind of hard, these like vets that aren't like huge needle movers. It's always hard to predict their teams. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, what the fuck? Like, can we get to the meat and potatoes here? Yes, we will. Let's get into it. Bojan Bogdanovic, obviously a part of that crazy Mikal Bridges trade that we predicted on this channel, believe it or not. That's not true. I just straight up lied. We never once predicted that. Bojan Bogdanovic, New York Knicks legend. How many games did he play for them? 20? Now a member of the Brooklyn Nets, where he once... Did he start his career there? Is that where he started his career? Bojan is one of these guys who you look at as like Basketball Reference, and it's like, fuck, he's bounced around quite a bit. Did start his career in Brooklyn. Obviously, this is a new thing, a new wrinkle of the offseason here. Bojan was just not that good last year, and then was really not that good with the Knicks. At least for what they needed him to do. And at his age currently, I'm just not so sure what his market would be. 35 years old. I don't think that Knicks tenure was very encouraging for any team that might be looking to trade him. And because of that, I think he does stay with Brooklyn just for now. I mean, Brooklyn's going to have to keep some people. I'm going through this, and I'm looking at the Nets players. I think they have a chance to be historically bad next year. I actually think that there's a world where they are historically terrible. Just with how competitive the NBA is right now, how good a lot of these teams are, they're going to be so bad. So bad. So they're going to have people on the roster, some players on the roster, salary on the roster. I think Bojan kind of makes some sense to stay there, and, you know, he'll have ample opportunity. Jack with the $4.99. What do you think about trading up in the second round? I think it's a possibility. We'll see. A lot of different directions the Mavericks can go. Again, if you're watching this back, the second round of the draft hasn't happened yet because they split it in 2 days because they don't have any clue what's going on. So anyways, I think Bojan is a tanking hooper. That's true. That's a very good point. So they let Bojan kind of rehab his value a little bit, and maybe they can trade him at the deadline or something. All right, let's get to – I tried to storyboard this a little bit. Let's get to the Atlanta Hawks, who I think a lot of people kind of speculated weeks ago that they would have made big moves by this point in the lead up to the draft. How often does that actually happen, though? I'm not entirely sure. Obviously, they took Ricochet first overall. You know, anytime you hear the first overall pick described as a 3-and-D role player, probably not a good sign. What do they do now? I highly doubt they stand pat. They're going to make moves. What does that look like? I'm not entirely sure. Bogdanovic. Whoa, Bogdanovic is back-to-back. I did not do that intentionally, by the way, but hey, sometimes the universe works in mysterious ways. I've thought about him quite a bit over the past couple of weeks. I think he's a really, really good player. I've said before I would have picked him 6th man of the year if I had a vote. Great off guard, somebody who can do stuff with the ball in his hands, somebody who doesn't need the ball in his hands, can spot up, can attack closeouts, cutter. It was difficult for me to think of a team that would give up enough value that makes sense for the Hawks to move him. Because even if the Hawks get off of one of Trey or DeJounte or whoever, I don't think they're going to like go in the direction of rebuilding and tanking. I think the Ricochet pick definitely signaled that. They didn't draft a project. They didn't draft someone who, hey, give it a couple years. They drafted like this guy can play now, I guess. But so I think I think he stays there. Jalen Johnson might be their best asset. Yeah. I couldn't think of. I mean, the Trey and DeJounte thing's not working out, and they're just kind of stuck in this endless cycle of just being a mediocre ass team right now. But they don't have their picks is the problem. So it's like, what does blowing it up even look like for them? I tried to think of a Bogdan destination. I couldn't think of one. Entirely possible he gets traded, though. Trae Young. Entirely possible he gets traded. What was these rumblings I heard that Trae Young gave the Hawks a list of preferred destinations? I saw this whenever I was researching Pelicans stuff, that the Pelicans were on it. But then I couldn't really find much else about it. Which, if that's the case, then maybe there's some smoke here that this might be ramping up. There's been a lot. I mean, this has been a thing for months now. For months and months and months, we talked about Trae Young potentially getting traded. In my trade deadline prediction videos, I did predict him to get traded to the Spurs. The weird thing is, if you're the Hawks, I guess kind of trading with the Spurs does make sense if it's getting your picks back. Now you feel a little bit more comfortable about maybe heading towards a rebuild. I just don't know, now that we've gotten to this point, if the Spurs are really a team that makes sense. The Lakers have been rumored. I never liked that. Never liked that at all for the Lakers, to be honest with you. Never really liked it for the Lakers that much. Pelicans, a guard. They need that. They need an actual real point guard. And, yeah, I guess you just wouldn't give a fuck about defense. Although, I think he'd probably be replacing CJ McCollum, who's also bad on defense. And the idea of Trae Young and Zion is pretty interesting. I don't think he's a Utah player. That would be interesting, but I don't think that's a Danny Ainge move. Brooklyn was an interesting place until they decided to go the direction of a rebuild. I thought Brooklyn was like a sneaky, fuck it, we need something. I ultimately, though, think he stays. If it's true that I saw that Bobby Marks said DeJounte Murray's value is higher than Trae. If that's true, Orlando could be a destination as well. If that's true, I don't see the point if you're Atlanta. Like, trading Trae for pennies on the dollar for what exactly? I do think there's some interesting, like, Orlando's interesting. Would I be shocked if Trae Young gets traded? Not necessarily. Off to a boring offseason. I mean, we'll get to it. DeAndre Hunter. Hurt all the time. Big contract. I would have to imagine that they're looking towards getting off of this before it gets worse. Obviously, still, he's 26. Wow, I thought he was younger than that. Okay. He did come into the league as a 22-year-old. 57 games last year, 67 the year before, 53-23. Just not a guy who stays on the court at all. His contract's also a little bit disgusting. One of these, like, rookie extensions where it's like, why did you have to do that? Well, I just don't get these fucking rookie contract extensions. Why not just let him hit restricted free agency? I do not get it. Like, okay, sure, we're matching $25 million a year, which is what you're paying him. What team's offering more than that in restricted free agency? Especially now where, like, free agency's dead. I'm wondering if the restricted free agents like DeAndre Hunter just make it to restricted free agency now. Like, we don't give a fuck, man. Did you hear Bill and Russell talk about the Barnes extension? Yeah, I did. I disagreed with that whole segment that they had. I think Scotty Barnes is very deserving of a rookie max. I do think DeAndre Hunter gets put on the move. I don't think his value's high. I think that this might even be like you might have to attach something to him. This contract sucks. $21 million this year, $23 the year after, $24 the year after that, for just a mediocre ass player. Teetering on, like, below average. Who does have an interesting skill set, but also doesn't really play much. And I'm just kind of thinking about it. This just feels like a Detroit Pistons thing to me. They got cap space. Fuck it. We'll take We'll take him. We'll try it out. We'll see if maybe we can get something here, rehab his value a little bit. Maybe we can get some assets in return. I tried to think about contenders, but then I was like, I don't know how many contenders would like really want to take a shot at this, especially with the salary cap rules and stuff, the second apron in the back of people's brains. Do I want DeAndre Hunter $20+ million a year? Probably not. Why not Washington replace Denny? Yeah, that could be an option too. I mean, any of these cap space teams that could just absorb people, definitely an option. Definitely an option. I don't know. The idea of DeAndre Hunter is great, but he never plays, and he's just very underwhelming to me. I mean, he's a 15-point-a-game guy, a wing. What are all the teams that can absorb people right now? Let's pull it up. You've got the Pistons. You've got the Magic, technically. And I saw some reports that the Magic were kind of thinking about doing that again. The Wizards. I don't know if Brooklyn actually has cap space. Detroit, Philly, which they're not looking to absorb contracts. Orlando, Utah, the Spurs, the Hornets. And that's pretty much it. Of course, this is all depending on like Hornets. What do they do with Miles Bridges, who will be coming up soon? But anyways, I think DeAndre Hunter's on the move. Just makes some sense. I didn't love any of the free agent options for the Pistons, by the way, of like the Fred VanVleet method. Hey, we'll just throw a bag at somebody. I didn't love any of those options for him. Clint Capella, the Tim Hardaway Jr. of the Atlanta Hawks, in trade rumors now for probably the last 10+ years, even though he's only been on the team for I think 3 or 4. Is this finally the year that Clint Capella heads elsewhere? It's kind of interesting to me because it's like, okay, is Okongwu ready for that? If so, all right. $22 million expiring deal for Clint Capella. Would see the Grizzlies made sense. Yeah, the Grizzlies would have made some sense. I think there's like a Thunder possibility here, but I don't really necessarily love that fit. I've seen people toss it out there, but I don't love it. I think there's some like Lakers potential here. If they want AD to play the 4. Capella cheap replacement big. Knicks replacement big. Well, he's making $20 million. And matching that could be a little bit difficult. And the NBA hipsters can't wait for double O to 37 minutes a game. Yeah. The problem is he's making $22 million. So there's no like lesser roles that he could get to. I'm going with the New Orleans Pelicans. They have a need at the center position. Jonas Valanciunas is a free agent, and I think that they want to move on from that. I think I predicted Capella to go to the Pelicans last offseason. It kind of makes a lot of sense, to be honest with you. I like the fit quite a bit. I don't know how financially they make it work, but I think that this makes sense. Rebounder, shot blocker. The spacing gets a little bit wonky, but, you know. Yeah, they can run a little bit more. He's more athletic and nimble than Jonas is, of course. Jonas can do much more offensively, but DeJounte. They're splitting up this backcourt. They are. So I have DeJounte going elsewhere. A lot of teams that make some sense. Again, I thought Brooklyn was a destination that I thought was interesting before they decided to blow it up, that not a lot of people were talking about. The Lakers have been talked about quite a bit. I see it. Yeah, back to San Antonio. That's an option. Do the Hawks get some of their picks back, and now they have a chance to control their own destiny quite a bit? Magic are an option. The Jazz could be a sneaky. Somebody mentioned them earlier with Trey. Jazz could be a sneaky option. I tried to think about like the sneaky teams who are like, wait, what the fuck? They just traded for DeJounte Murray before the Mikal Bridges trade. I thought the Knicks could have been a team like that, especially if they were kind of concerned about OG leaving. But obviously they got Mikal Bridges, and now OG's back, so it doesn't really make sense at all. Pelicans. There's a trade here that just makes perfect sense. There's a pathway in a scenario where it could be DeJounte and Capella for stuff. There's a trade here that just makes the most sense in the world, and obviously this means Brandon Ingram to the Hawks. It's just, this to me just feels like a no fucking brainer. A no-brainer trade here for both parties involved. The Pelicans obviously want to move on from Brandon Ingram, I think. I think that marriage has ended. They need a guard desperately bad. The Hawks, that Trey, DeJounte pairing needs to be split up. Now you go out and you get a wing, a forward who can do some stuff. No, they think Risha Shea's a 2, by the way. They think Risha Shea's the 2. So they think he's a 2. So do with that information what you will. I don't know what the pick situation would have to be here. I agree that Risha Shea is probably a forward, but I'm telling you what I've seen people say. But anyways, I think that this just makes a lot of sense for both teams. Does it move the needle for either of them? Probably not. Probably not. I think it probably benefits. Brandon Ingram's a better player than DeJounte Murray for sure, but I think it benefits the Pelicans a little bit more just because they really desperately need a guard like that. I just think this for Atlanta would just be like a fuck it. We're trading DeJounte. We want a star back or a pseudo star. And I think that this is kind of just a trade match made in heaven. A trade match made in heaven. Risha Shea can guard 1 through 4. Yeah, I'm telling you, they think he's a 2. So what does this mean for the rest of the Pelicans? Zion. Last year, remember last summer? Man, there was a lot of smoke. It would be pretty funny if the summer where there's so much smoke about Zion maybe being elsewhere, maybe getting traded, that he ends up staying in the summer where it's like, yeah, Zion, sucked that he hurt his hamstring, but they're pretty happy with that season, is the offseason where he actually ends up getting traded. It's just weird with Zion. What's the Zion market? Like, if the Pelicans were to say, or Zion were to go to the Pelicans, whatever the case may be, and just say, hey, I want out. What does that trade package even look like? Like, in a world where Mikal Bridges just got 5 first-round picks, obviously Zion would have to fetch a huge haul. But then it's also like, who's doing that, though? Zion's obviously like a way better player than Mikal Bridges, but Mikal Bridges plays every fucking game. Would you move Markkanen for Zion? And see, this is where it gets crazy. I honestly don't know if I do that if I'm the Jazz. Like, I actually think I don't do that. And it really just boils down to if you're trading, and Markkanen's not like the picture of health either, but if you're trading for Zion, especially with his number, his contract, it's just so risky with how unavailable he typically is. But he was awesome this year. I mean, that playing game was incredible. 70 games, too. Career high for him. First time he's played more than 70 games. First time he's played more than 65 games. First time he's played more than 62 games. So, can you be a part of my men's basketball team? I need a 3-and-D guy. That's what I do. I'll put if I just had to say, like, percentage-wise, how shocked would I be if Zion got traded? I'd say, like, 95. Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how shocked would I be? I'd say 9.5. But there's still room there for me to be like, okay, wow. Like, whenever I get back on July 12th and I do my slightly unplugged stream with Nick and he tells me everything that happened, he said Zion got traded, I'd be like, whoa, holy shit, but all right, I could see it. CJ McCollum. So in this hypothetical scenario, In this hypothetical scenario, I have the Pelicans trading for DeJounte Murray. Does this mean a guy like CJ McCollum is now available? You have the DeJounte Murray to kind of run point, and maybe that moving on from CJ in this scenario opens up some room for a guy like Dyson Daniels to play a little bit more. So what team do you think would trade for Zion? That's the thing. I really don't know. I think it'd be like a... It would either be a very desperate team. I'm thinking like the Warriors. I'm using the Warriors as an example, where it's like they have so limited, their optionality is so limited that they're like, fuck it, just go get Zion. Or the Clippers or something. CJ McCollum has just been woefully miscast on this Pelicans team for quite some time now. His contract is low-key kind of disgusting. $33 million this year, $30 the next year. So only 2 years left, but I don't think you're getting a return of $30 million there in value. And he was just so bad in the playoffs. I mean, just so terrible. I do think, that contract is sneaky gross. But I do think he would end up staying with the Pelicans. And now he maybe has a more natural role where he is playing off ball to DeJounte Murray's on ball guard. Or maybe he goes to the bench or something. Don't know, but that $30 million option is pretty... That makes trading for him quite difficult. Jonas Valanciunas. Sounds like Jonas Valanciunas is gone. What is his market? I do not know. You could tell me full mid-level, and I'd say, okay. You could tell me some desperate team out there with cap space is like, hey, we'll give you $20 million for a year or two. And I'd say, okay, I guess. I think that's stupid, but all right. Sure. You have to spend your money on someone. You could tell me the minimum, and I'd be like, wow, all right. I mean, okay. I really don't know. So it makes it difficult to try and predict his landing spot. For teams that, like contending teams that have the full mid-level, I really kind of can't see it. OKC I thought was an option, but he just does not fit what they want to do defensively at all. I've seen a lot of people say OKC, but I don't think defensively, I think he fits that team like it's like water and oil right there. Bucks does make some sense, especially if you buy into some of this Brook Lopez getting shopped around rumors. He does kind of look like Travis Kelce. He does kind of look like Kelce. I'm going with the Lakers here. I think that this kind of makes some sense. I think his fit next to AD makes sense in theory. I don't think he'd be super expensive. And I think that I don't know which mid-level they have. I don't know if it's a taxpayer one or the full one, but I think that, big market slightly is here. I think that this makes some sense here. I think that you could start him next to AD, or you could bring him off the bench as like a really, really strong backup big. Okay, they have the taxpayer mid-level. All right, I think that could be his market too. I really don't know what his market is. I have to say, I have no clue. I could see the taxpayer mid-level. I really don't know what his market is, to be honest with you. Christian Wood erasure? Yes. Let's not forget, Christian Wood last year, I'm pretty sure I predicted him to go play in China. I'm fairly certain I predicted Christian Wood to go play in China last year. I predicted somebody to go play in China. I don't remember who it was. Jonas in Sacramento, that's something I considered as well. But stay tuned for the Kings. Najee Marshall. Now this guy is interesting. I just realized I'm pointing at his fucking... This guy is interesting, okay? Sounds like he's for sure gone. Sounds like he's for sure headed to a new team. This interesting Swiss Army knife wing that I think is a very underrated player, an underappreciated player. Has been good for quite some time. Strong, solid defender. good team player, team defender, good on offense as a team guy. Cutting, smart player. The shots, whatever. I'm thinking he's potentially a full mid-level guy. There were some rumors that the Mavericks, if they don't get Derrick Jones Jr. and have access to the full mid-level, that this is somebody they could target, and I think that makes a lot of sense to me. I think that makes a lot of sense. I saw the Pistons were interested in him. That kind of makes some sense to me, too, if the Pistons were like, fuck it, we got to spend money on somebody. I do think, Denver's, even if KCP leaves Denver, they don't have anything. They don't have the financial means to do anything, really. 76ers, obviously, with their cap space and Najee Marshall being like a win-now player, help a contending team, makes some sense. This team, to me, that I picked him to go to, it just screams Najee Marshall. It just screams Najee Marshall. I think they'd be comfortable going the full mid-level with him. I'm pretty sure they have access to the full mid-level as well. I don't know if that's true with the recent thing that they did. The Sacramento Kings. It just screams Najee Marshall to me. It just screams Najee Marshall. His play style, what the Kings need. Just kind of a do-it-all wing who can defend a little bit. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it would make a lot of sense for both parties. They already have Keon Ellis. Keon Ellis is more of a guard, though. They don't have the full MLE. Dude, this shit's so confusing. I read multiple different fucking things for each team. Was that after the Malik Monk thing? Genuinely so confused by this. But also, how difficult would it be for them to open the full mid-level if they wanted to? Salary cap, the Kings are over the salary cap, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this one doesn't say. I still don't understand what a mid-level exception is. It's a way for teams that are over the salary cap to still get. All right, so everything that was written before Malik Monk. Everything that was written before Malik Monk signed said that they would have access. Oh, but since they brought back Malik Monk, they might not have the full mid-level. I don't fucking know. This stuff is so confusing, bro. This stuff is so confusing. On this website right now, it says they have access to the non-taxpayer mid-level. They have access to the full mid-level? All right, well, there you go. I think this makes a lot of sense. I think this is a good fit. Salaries wish. Oh, salary swish. I'm assuming that's what that means. I was wondering why salary was plural. 167 does not allow full mid-level exception. All right. Look, we're just gonna go off of vibes. All right. We're just gonna go off of vibes. We're just going to go off of vibes. I'm not talking about the salary cap stuff anymore. All right, speaking of vibes, let's talk about horrible vibes. Miles Bridges, once upon a time, was one of my favorite players in the league. I can't that has changed. I can't quite support any of the shit he had going on. Of course, in terms of abuse. Weird year for Miles Bridges. Last offseason was very weird. Remember, he took the qualifying offer to avoid becoming a restricted free agent. So he's an unrestricted free agent right now. They didn't have like the best season. I had him as a top 100 player preseason. Did not have him after the season was over. Granted, in a weird situation with Charlotte. I have no clue what his market would be. I guess you could tell me a world where the Sixers start to get very, very desperate, and it's like, oh shit, we're actually not going to get anybody. Like our fan base is so like rabid about us going and getting talent that we could go and get Miles Bridges and it'll be fine because they'll just be so happy we did something. But I also don't. Last offseason, if memory serves correctly, there was no market for him at all. It was incredibly dry. And I can't imagine that changed all that much. I can't imagine a young team is like chopping at the bits to bring in Miles Bridges. Minimum? I don't think he's going to sign a minimum. But also, to the I don't know what goes on here. This will be one of the more interesting ones to follow in the offseason, to be honest with you. This will be one of the more interesting storylines and plot lines to follow. And I just think ultimately Charlotte brings him back. It was also just like a weird year last year for him. But his skill set and everything, and the Miles Bridges we saw like 2 or 3 years ago, any team in the league would be lining up to get that guy. 27 days, 27 nights. Oh, man. LaMelo Ball? Oh? Remember in our mock draft, the Charlotte Hornets GM, they drafted Reed Shepherd and they said LaMelo Ball was on the move. LaMelo. I love him. I'm a big believer in him. Now, this would be a little bit different, honestly, if the Hornets did end up drafting a guard. No, he's definitely staying. I just wanted to include him here because what would the shock level be 1 to 10 if he did get traded? I said it was 9.5 for Zion. I'd put it at like 7 for LaMelo. I'd be like, oh, okay. Wow, they traded him. But I wouldn't be like, are you fucking kidding me? I'd be like, oh, okay, wow. Yeah, like if it was like, hey, the Spurs called, they wanted him, they needed a point guard, they thought that the fit made sense, they had the assets, let's just do it. And the Hornets were like, you know what, just get me off of this shit. Like, if LaMelo hurts his ankle again next year and misses the whole season, then what? Like, what the fuck do we do now? His contract extension hasn't even kicked in yet. I agree. Low value in theory right now. But again, if a team like the Spurs was like, you know what, LaMelo, we want him. Let's do it. Let's go and get him. And they're like, we don't care. We'll give 3 or 4 picks or whatever else you want too. I think the Hornets listen. Look, the Hornets are interesting. Eddie with the 499. How is it that we can barely afford to keep role players, but the Celtics can have 5 All-Stars on max contracts? Well, they're not on max contracts. I thought it was interesting that the Spurs didn't leave with like a point guard last night. Just thought it was interesting. They count Castle? No way. All right. Let's get into the Brooklyn Nets, shall we? Already traded Mikal Bridges. They're bottoming out, obviously. Dorian Finney-Smith should 1,000% be on a new basketball team in the coming weeks. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever. That actually shocks me because draft stuff that I was looking at, I don't think people were super confident that Stephon Castle could be a point guard, but all right. Dorian Finney-Smith fits the mold that every team is looking for, a 3-and-D wing. What's his value? Go back and forth on this guy. And Dorian, all it takes is one team with a good amount of assets, like the Thunder, who I think could make sense here, saying, yeah, we want him, we'll give you 2 firsts. Like, we'll give you like 2 shitty firsts. And the Nets be like, okay, bet. And that takes everyone out of the equation. Obviously, the Mavericks are an option here. Tim Hardaway Jr. and his salaries are pretty close to aligning. Mavericks could add some stuff. Do the Mavericks want to trade a first in a scenario like this? I have to be honest with you. I really, really doubt it. The Lakers do make some sense. The Grizzlies. I mean, any contending team makes sense. He fits a mold that every contending team is looking for. The Sixers obviously could just trade him into cap space, so there's some interesting stuff there. The Cavaliers definitely make a lot of sense. I've already said the team I think might end up for him. The Los Angeles Lakers. It's not sexy. I don't have the Lakers doing anything like sexy, but I think it's a fit that makes sense and sort of a suited up Taurean Prince, who's like actually good. I think I actually predicted Dorian Finney-Smith to Lakers at the trade deadline too. It's just a fit that makes a lot of sense to me in my brain. I think he fits really well next to AD. I think he fits really well next to LeBron. Yeah, everyone. Yeah, okay. Tomatoes flying around. That's all right. I'm here to stand on business. We'll look back on this. Lakers adding Jonas Valanciunas and Dorian Finney-Smith isn't sexy. Two great front court bench players. No. I agree with you. I think that would be a good offseason for them. But I'm saying like you know how Lakers fans are. They're big game hunters, and I just don't think it's going to happen for them. Nets declined 2 firsts for him. I always take those with a grain of salt. I don't know what that means. 2 firsts, what? Like protected firsts, a late 20s first in this upcoming, like in this year's draft. Like, I don't know. No, I get you guys don't want Dorian Finney-Smith on the Lakers, but I think it's a fit that makes some sense. Another Brooklyn Net who's more than likely on the move. Cam Johnson. A lot of smoke about these two last night. Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith. Kind of sounded at times like they were going to get traded last night. Cam Johnson, 6'10", 6'9", big guy, can shoot. I think the idea of Cam Johnson is better than reality a lot of the times, to be honest with you. He is 28 years old, so he's not like a young guy necessarily. He is a good three-point shooter. His defense, I don't think, is necessarily where some people think it is. What the big concern for him is 58 games this year, 42 the year before, 66, 60, 57. Always been a guy who's been hurt. His contract number is not bad, to be honest with you. 23 this upcoming season, 21, 23. That's a fine deal. Again, it's similar to Dorian. Any team interested in Dorian would be interested in Cam Johnson. I think there would be a long line of suitors. The Mavericks make sense. The Mavericks make a lot of sense. Cam Johnson, top 75 player of the 2023 annual slightly summer ranking. Yeah, I was high on him. I thought there would be a good year for him. I was wrong. It's Cavs. Cavs make a lot of sense. Kings make some sense. It is the Cavs, though. I was thinking about the Cleveland Cavaliers. They've been tied to Cam Johnson forever. And there's some salary stuff that makes it work. And I think he would fit in really, really well with what Cleveland's got going on. Just fits like a glove. So would you retain Derrick Jones Jr. if it took the full mid-level? Probably. I don't know who else they'd spend that on. What do you think the package is? I don't know the exact package. I do think Karis LeVert would probably end up going to Brooklyn in this scenario. I don't know if they would want to keep Karis LeVert. Obviously, Karis LeVert played for the Nets at one point, so there's a reunion there. Or if he gets rerouted. If he gets rerouted, that's an interesting one. I saw somebody, they can only trade one first. I think that could do it for Cam Johnson, to be 100% honest with you. I'm not entirely sure what his market would be. But Brooklyn getting Karis LeVert. I did see an interesting 3-team trade. I forgot where I saw it. I don't even think it was a Mavs fan. But it was a 3-team trade where the Mavs got involved, and it was a Tim Hardaway Jr. for Karis LeVert swap, which I was like, that's interesting. That's interesting. Jared Allen Nets reunion. Evan Sittery bomb. Oh, I already saw this. The Lakers are expected to draft Bronny James. All right, great. Talk more Mavs. I'm gonna put you in timeout. This is not a Mav-centric stream. Nothing we do in the offseason is Mav-centric usually. I'm actually trying to get out of being like super Mav-centric. But I've been trying to do that for a long time. Let's get to the Cleveland Cavaliers now. Kenny Atkinson is there all season long. It was constantly, what are the Cleveland Cavaliers going to do this offseason? Donovan Mitchell, could he get traded? Darius Garland, Jared Allen, could he get traded? Isaac Okoro was a restricted free agent. What happens there? Look, let's just run through this. Cavs, Donovan Mitchell, I think stays. Darius Garland, I think stays. Jared Allen, I think stays. I think they're running this shit back. I know that that's not sexy. I know that that's not fun. I would love to do a Donovan Mitchell gets traded somewhere. Darius Garland gets traded somewhere. I just think they run it back with Kenny Atkinson. Jared Allen, I thought for sure was going to get traded. The Kenny Atkinson hire makes me very confident he's not getting traded at this point. Darius Garland, what's the rush to trade him? Even if Darius Garland wants out, that doesn't necessarily mean I have to trade you. And that's Darius Garland's the type of player where I'm like, sorry. You request a trade, I don't care. You're not getting it. Donovan Mitchell, if he requested a trade, we do it. But if he wants to stay, you bring him back. And I was listening to the Simmons-Russello podcast, and they just keep harping on, like, it would terrify me if I were the Cavs and I paid Donovan Mitchell and then he wants to get traded. Why? Then you just trade him. You sign him to an extension, and then a year from now, he wants out. All right. You trade him. Get a king's ransom for him. Like, what's so bad about that? Compared to him leaving in free agency, like I don't really get that. So I think the Cavs add Cam Johnson and then just kind of stand pat. Would they entertain a Mobley trade? See, I don't even think so. Russello. You'd be selling like low on the hypothetical value of Mobley and Garland, I would think at least. I just don't. Again, going back to what I said about LaMelo, if the Spurs just knock on your door and are like, yo, Darius Garland, how many fucking picks? How many? Give us a number and we'll do it. Then maybe. Starbucks cold brew, brother. I'm drinking the same. This is just iced coffee. Cold brew's got a little too much caffeine going on, but then I get a venti iced coffee. It's like, does it even matter? Like, what's the difference? In case I just admit you hate Garland? No. I love Darius Garland. You guys know that. League leader in assists in his future, potentially. The Spurs should knock on the floor of Mobley? Dude, that would be insane. Mobley and Wemby, oh my God, that would be actually crazy. The Spurs are an interesting team. I could see them just being like, yo, we want this guy. We're getting him. Give us spicy takes. This isn't a spicy takes thing. This is what I'm actually predicting to happen. And I want to be right. Malik Beasley, reports that he's played his last game in Milwaukee. Not like a super sexy player or anything like that, but an interesting shooter. Vet. Been around quite a bit. Could see a number of contending teams knock on his door. I've seen Mavericks fans ask about this guy. Maybe as a Tim Hardaway Jr. replacement, but I guess I wouldn't be like super excited about it, to be honest with you. He did shoot 41% from three this year. Sixers are tied to anybody and everybody, as they should. Yeah, I'm not a big Malik Beasley guy, but him going to Houston makes some sense to me. Makes some sense. Mid-level or a chunk of the mid-level, whatever the case may be. Some shooting. Another vet. I know that they just drafted Reed Shepherd, but I still think they need more shooting. It'll just be more like a vet as well. No idea what his market would be. Bobby Portis. There's been enough trade rumors with Bobby Portis, let's not forget that there was a rumored Grant Williams for Bobby Portis straight up trade. There's been enough rumors here over the last 6 or 7 months. Yeah, former future Maverick Bobby Portis. That it's interesting that maybe there's a scenario in which he gets traded. I thought about several teams. I thought about the Kings. I thought that made a lot of sense as like this big who could play next to Sabonis and space the floor a little bit. I think that actually makes a lot of sense. Warriors, I thought about as well. Portis for Wiggins, that's kind of interesting. Bobby to Memphis, that does make a lot of sense as well. Sixers, are we just going to say Sixers for every team, every player? Sixers! I ultimately think they keep him. So, I think there's a possibility he gets traded, but I ultimately think he keeps him. And the reason for that is I think Brook Lopez is getting traded. Now where? Where does Brook Lopez end up getting traded to where the value return to Milwaukee makes sense? That's the ultimate question. Houston really wanted Brook Lopez last year. I don't know if that sentiment still exists this summer. I did see a rumor that the Mavs were interested in him. I don't know why the fuck that would be the case. I really don't see that. Warriors make some sense. OKC does make some sense as well. There is a trade, a 1-for-1 trade almost, and maybe the Bucks would have to add some stuff to this. I don't know. Or maybe the other team would have to add some stuff. I really don't know the value of these two guys in like the trade market. There is a 1-for-1 trade that I think makes so much fucking sense. Whoa, we have a trade? Shams? It's my turn now. Minnesota is trading Wendell Moore Jr. and the number 37 pick in today's day 2 of the NBA draft to Detroit. Wait, Wendell Moore Jr. and the number 37 pick to Detroit. Wait, for who? Ooh, is that Quentin Grimes? Wouldn't the salaries have to match there, though? For 31? Shedding salary? Oh. I don't think it's Grimes. We'll monitor that. We'll monitor that. Jaden Ivey. Why dump Wendell Moore though? Maybe he's just not. They don't think he's good. Wendell Moore, part of that Gobert trade, wasn't he? Was he or wasn't he? Oh, yeah, that's right. He was the Christian Wood pick. I forgot about that. I forgot about that shit. How did he end up in Minnesota? All right, back to Brook Lopez. Rockets traded the pick to the Timberwolves. Okay. Back to Brook Lopez. I don't think Houston makes a lot of sense. There's a 1-for-1 trade that I'm not going to lie, I was already thinking about, and then I looked into it, and apparently there's a lot of people who think that this is a trade that makes sense. Again, I don't know what the pick situation would have to be, who's giving up who's giving up what in return. But Brook Lopez to the Toronto Raptors. Now, of course, do the Raptors want to keep Brook Lopez? That's a different conversation, and I don't fucking know, and I highly doubt it. I'm sure he'd get rerouted somewhere else. But Brook Lopez to Toronto in return for Bruce Brown. Again, I don't know what the picks, who's giving up extra in this scenario. But Brook Lopez getting older, and I just think the writing is on the wall for him. And Toronto, Bruce Brown was just awful. after he got traded there. Just really was not good at all last year. Yeah, I did see Jake Fisher getting the picture wrong. It was one of the funnier things of last night. It's fucking... What did he tweet out? What was the exact tweet? He was so defeated. I actually felt bad for him. It's fucking where. I'm so sorry, y'all. That's like an iconic tweet. Honestly, that is an iconic tweet. So mid for mid. I think it'd be the Bucks getting something in return for Brook Lopez, who they might want to get rid of, and Bruce Brown. We've seen him contribute at a championship level 2 years ago. It's not like we're 10 years removed. I'm sure Toronto would reroute him. I really struggled to find a Brook Lopez team that made sense. Like, I really struggled to find the Brook Lopez team that makes sense. Oh, Giannis is playing right now. Nice. So, Kelly Olynyk. Just one of the more underrated role guys for pretty much his whole entire career. In this scenario, let's say that the Raptors do end up getting Brook Lopez in this type of trade. Let's not forget they also have Jakob Poeltl. Does that mean Kelly Olynyk becomes available? I would have to imagine so. Former future Maverick. Actually, former future drafted by the Mavericks Maverick. So former future Maverick. I just have him on the Raptors. I couldn't think of a team. It was getting late when I included Kelly Olynyk, and I was like, I don't fucking know. Could be on the move, though. I just wanted to highlight him because if he were to get traded, I think that there is some destinations out there that make some sense. Obviously, you have the Canadian connection, but Mavericks makes sense. Philly, all right. OKC is interesting. Pacers is actually pretty interesting as well. Gary Trent Jr., sneaky guy here. Sneaky guy. What is his market? An unrestricted free agent now. What is Shams? It's my turn now. Detroit is sending number 53 to Minnesota in the deal. So this is a pure salary dump here. Interesting. Huh. Okay. Gary Trent Jr. Is this a mid-level guy or more? I don't know. He's still young. I remember I looked this up last night and I was shocked. 25. Does it not feel like he's way older than that? Why you stream so early? It's just, I'm like in a rush. I'm leaving Saturday. I have a lot of shit I have to do. This was like the perfect time. Yeah, he's 25 years old, man. It feels like he's way older, does it not? It feels like he's been in the league for 10 fucking years. But an interesting player who can shoot the three ball, does some interesting enough stuff on ball. They're like, okay. And in theory, is a better defender than in reality. No, I don't think he can play wing. I think he's a guard. I don't think his like point of attack defense is great or anything like that. But the Bleacher Report stream is tomorrow. He can he's a playmaker defensively. Evan Sidri bomb. Oh my God, Evan Sidri. I might have to follow. I already do follow him. I don't want to subscribe to you for $3 a month, bro. Wow, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope's value in free agency is expected to reach near $25 million annually. Damn. The same draft as Luka? Yeah, he was. He was in the 2018 draft. Gary Trent Jr., I actually think his market might be a little robust, and that's interesting that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope pops up because I think that he could be like a runner-up prize for teams that are in the KCP race. And it's funny that says that because there's two teams mentioned in that KCP tweet. the Sixers and the Magic, and I have Gary Trent Jr. going to the Magic. I think it makes some sense. They get some shooting. I think he matches what they want to do defensively a little bit. Doesn't even necessarily have to start. I think it makes some sense there. I think it makes some sense. I think that's a match made in heaven. They got cap space, and maybe this is like a move that happens mid-July, where the Magic have cap space. They're like, all right, we'll give Gary Trent Jr. $20 million for 1 year or something. There was reports that that's what they wanted to do, that they wanted to do something similar to what they did with Joe Ingles, where it's like, we'll do short-term deals rather than go all in for a guy. Philly, Orlando are either getting KCP or Trent. Yeah, it kind of fits like a glove. NBA Central bomb. We're getting a lot of bombs, man. Angel Reese versus... What? Chicago Bulls are looking to move Nikola Vucevic. Oh, man. NBA, yeah. Let's move on from bomb. Let's do like NBA Central napalm strike. So Gary Trent Jr. to the Magic. Now let's get to the Magic. They have cap space. They're an interesting team to follow this offseason. I think that they're going to maybe be aggressive. Jonathan Isaac, I see every fan base in the world. Jonathan Isaac. Now, could we go after Jonathan Isaac? I don't think so. It does not make any sense whatsoever. That is I didn't even realize that was Grant Williams. This is a funny picture. I just don't think it makes sense for them to get rid of Jonathan Isaac. Now, maybe in a salary matching move as a trade, but there had to be like a pretty great return coming. Wendell Carter Jr., see his name get brought up all of the time. Don't see him getting moved either. Wasn't like a great year for Wendell Carter Jr., but he was dealing with injuries and stuff. Still think his contract's one of the best in the NBA. So I highly doubt they move off of that. Another reason why it was so weird for Wendell Carter Jr. this year was, well, this guy, Mo Wagner. I've seen him get brought up. He's a restricted free agent, I believe. I've seen him get brought up. Well, we could go after Mo Wagner. It's so funny, like reading team stuff. Like, we could go get Mo Wagner. Like, we can get him. Why is that? Why exactly is that? I think he stays with Orlando. But a reason it was so weird for Wendell Carter is this guy right here, Goga Bitadze, who, when Wendell was injured, has crept into the rotation and was like really fucking good. And the Magic's on-off numbers with him on the floor were insane. And it was so much so that there was like calls for Goga to start even after Wendell Carter Jr. came back from injury. What is Goga's market? I actually have zero clue whatsoever. But I think he'd be a great backup center for somebody. He's only 24 years old. Could be a steal this free agency. There's just so many bigs in Orlando. I think it just makes sense for him to go somewhere else. The Sixers, all right, let's throw the Sixers in for everyone. Lakers, well, I have the Lakers getting Jonas Valanciunas, so I don't think they want that many centers. Goga's 24 going on 44? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Goga was great this year. Will you go to Athens for Sylvania's games? No. Would be sick, though. Now, Knicks is a great option if they lose Hartenstein as a replacement option for him. That probably shouldn't be that expensive. Miami Heat. I think the Miami Heat as an option to back up Bam and maybe even potentially start at the 5 if they want Bam at the 4 makes some sense to me, quite a bit. I don't know financially. I have no idea what Goga's market would be because I know the Miami Heat are up against it salary cap wise. So I have no clue what his market would be. I don't know what his price would be. I know that they drafted Khalil Ware, but guys, I don't think teams aren't, especially in a draft like this, teams aren't drafting rookies. They're like, all right, we got him. We're good. We got a rookie. Like most teams aren't doing that at least. I guess the Mavericks kind of did that with Derek Lively. Can Boston get him on the taxpayer mid-level? Do they? They don't even have that, do they? Second apron teams don't even have the taxpayer mid-level. I did think about the Celtics. I actually predicted him to the Celtics once I predicted him to the Celtics once in a trade deadline. Bro, Sam Hauser threw up in a cooler full of beer and then gave that beer to Boston fans. I saw that. I did see that. I don't give a fuck if you play on an NBA team. If you throw me a beer can with puke on it, I'm throwing it right back at you. I don't give a shit. Sorry. That's disgusting. So I don't know what Goga's best interest is to go to the Knicks. Yeah, that's. I think the Knicks would be a great option as well if they lose Hartenstein. I don't know what his market is though. I have no idea. Could Goga be one of those guys where like you hear the number that he gets signed for and you're like, what the fuck? Like people who don't know are like, are you like that's the worst contract of all time? I don't know. NBA Central nuke. The Portland Trailblazers are expected to take calls on Robert Williams. All right, we're reaching like mortar. That's like a mortar shell. NBA Central mortar. So Goga to the Heat. Speaking of the Miami Heat, KOT4Q, precision airstrike. Oh no. Nerf attack. Miami Heat, what in the fuck do they've got going on? There's some weird stuff in Miami, man. Things aren't right there. Some weird stuff going on. I'm only including Tyler Hero here because he's their vehicle, I think, to making like an upgrade somewhere. So, if I have Tyler Hero going somewhere else, it means I think the Heat are making a big upgrade. And I do not believe that's the case. I think they stand pat. Obviously, the big one is Jimmy Butler. What is happening here? So Jimmy Butler, a lot of smoke. Enough smoke where I'm like, okay. My 1 to 10 shocked meter if Jimmy Butler gets traded this year would be like a 3. If I heard that whenever I got back from from Slightly Unplugged, I'd be like, okay, all right, we knew it was a possibility. That would probably be my exact reaction. Then the reports yesterday come out that was like he's not signing an extension with the Heat. He's not signing an extension with anybody, which damn near kills his trade value right then and there because I think any team trading for him would want to sign him. The Sixers make a lot of sense. They just do. I think there's desperation enough there. The Warriors do make some sense. I've seen that sort of thrown around. The Knicks, I guess, before they went and got Mikal did make sense. The Mavericks, honestly, make sense. The Mavericks do make sense. Jimmy and Luka are, like, close. I feel like among Luka's NBA friendships with non-Mavs players, like, I think Jimmy's up there. They work out together. Am I wrong? I considered Houston greatly to the point where I'm actually going to be honest with you. I don't have him going to Houston, but there was a tiny brief second where I did. Houston was where I put him. I also think he's reached this interesting place where I don't think he's getting 5 first round. I don't think you're getting 5 first round picks in return. Any team's going to be like I'm sure that he would be like, dude, what the fuck? Mikal Bridges just got 5 first round picks. If I'm the other GM, I'm saying Mikal Bridges is young. Mikal Bridges plays every single game. I know what I'm getting from him on a night-to-night basis. Jimmy Butler's going to be 35 at the start of next season and wants me to pay him $40 million. And is injured, hasn't played over 65 games since 2019, where he played 65 games, hasn't played 70 games since 2017. We're damn near 10 years removed from that at this point. And I also don't know, like, I'm getting a player who just, like, openly coasts during the 82-game regular season at times. Again, my shock meter if he got traded would be about a 3. It wouldn't be that shocking to me. But I just don't really see it. I don't even. Would you consider being in the second apron for Jimmy as a Mavs fan? So I was just about to say, I don't even know if the Mavs would want to do that, to be honest with you. I honestly don't even know if the Mavs would want to do that. You'd be so all in on like a pretty sizable risk. Yeah, Ben Simmons staying with Brooklyn. Whoa, stay tuned. Stay tuned. Caleb Martin, interesting guy. Sounds like he's gone. Sounds like his time in Miami is up. This, to me, is a full mid-level guy. Obviously, if this were the offseason, if this were last offseason off of his, what should have been Eastern Conference Finals MVP performance, I'm very interested in the number he would have got. But he did have a bit of a more down year this year. But I still think he's, at the very least, a full mid-level guy, and potentially even more than that, maybe. Nuggets just don't have the assets to get Caleb Martin, in my opinion, although that would be a really nice fit. Who would you rather have between Caleb and Derrick Jones Jr.? Is Caleb not better? But again, I could see Caleb Martin going for more than that. So I'm looking around. What are some teams that want to win right now that could maybe even push this above the mid-level if it gets to that? The Sixers, obviously. I think we joke around about saying the Sixers for every player. The Sixers actually make quite a bit of sense. The Kings, if he's a mid-level guy, make a lot of sense as well. Now, I already had the Kings getting Najee Marshall. Dune, welcome to Slightly Delusional Club. No, the Nuggets cannot afford Caleb Martin, I don't think. Mavericks make sense. Grizzlies make some sense. And then some of these younger teams with cap space. So does Detroit throw my bag? Orlando can make some sense. Is Utah like, we got to pay somebody? Fuck it. Spurs, if they're trying to win a little bit. Legion Hoops nuclear winner. Oh, God. The nuclear holocaust is happening right now. Legion Hoops is responsible. Bronny said he started. Oh, my God. Dude. Their last, 4 tweets are about Bronny James. That's kind of embarrassing. Hornets bring him back. I forgot he was with the Hornets and they waived him. This team to me makes so much sense in the world for him. It made me feel good because I had mapped out this entire team's offseason in this, and I was just doing some research. And there was several, I guess, podcasters for this team that are really plugged in or somewhat plugged in, and they predicted this exact offseason for him. So that made me feel good about myself that we had very similar thinking. The Oklahoma City Thunder. I think he's a perfect player for them. I know that they just went and got Caruso, but I still think off the bench, he's a guy that you could bring off the bench that you feel very, very comfortable. Playing in a playoff rotation, which is the next step for them. They got to figure out who they're comfortable playing with in a postseason rotation, and I think the Thunder, I think Caleb Martin's one of those guys. Yeah, he would be great there. How many players do they have? They can't have 20 players and draft 3 more each year. They did just draft 2 guys in the first round, but, they'll be fine. They have, guys, Wiggins and Isaiah Joe are both guys they can get rid of this offseason. I don't know if they want to do that necessarily. This is not the only OKC move I have. So let's stick with OKC. So this is the big one right here. Lou Dort. Why do I even add him? Similar to adding Tyler Hero? Dude, 5 gifted. Thank you. Similar to The Tyler Hero, if the Thunder make a big trade to go all in, I think Lou Dort would have to be involved, especially now with the addition, I guess I should say, of Alex Caruso. Utah for Lowry. Now, I have said, I think OKC is pussy if they don't just lay it on the line for Lowry Markkanen. I do think they're pussy if they don't lay it on the line for Lowry Markkanen. Then the Mikal Bridges trade happened. And knowing Danny Ainge, seeing Mikal Bridges fetch 5-6 first-round picks, I'm asking for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Like, that's just where immediately I go. I'm like, you want Markkanen? All right, give me Shai. What? Mikal Bridges got 5 first-round picks. What? KD, I have Thunder friends in my life who are like, fuck no. I'm like, dude, KD makes some sense. And they're all like, no. We are not doing that. You know, KD's been rumored in trade market, in trade talks. James Harden's a free agent. Russell Westbrook's a free agent. Let's run it back, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do it. Full circle for James Harden. He goes back to OKC and wins 6th Man of the Year again. Come on, man. Hypothetically, would you dump Kyrie and assets for Lowry? I don't really want to touch a duo that just made the NBA Finals. I just don't want to do it. So I went into this thinking, yeah, I'm gonna predict Lowry to the Thunder. But damn, it's just. I just don't know what the fuck his value would be. Gordon Hayward, I'm only including him because I think this would be a funny reunion, and it actually makes some sense to me as like a vet min ring chaser guy. Who I think Gordon Hayward is at the point where he's probably a vet min. He was so bad in OKC, injured, getting older. Yeah, Boston. Somebody said it. I think Boston actually makes sense there. It just is like a wing depth. Yeah, Sam Hauser does clear. I don't even know if he would, like, how much he'd crack the rotation, but, like, just as a depth option. I just wanted to include that because Boston was the first team I looked at, and immediately I thought Gordon Hayward minimum. Like, that's just immediately Gordon Hayward minimum. All right. Speaking of the Celtics, let's get to the team they beat in the NBA Finals. It's time. I've strung this out long enough. I didn't want to wait until the very end to do the Maverick stuff. I put it in around the middle. Maybe a little bit after. Daniel Gafford. Why the hell is he included in here? Weirdly enough, and this is just deep on Mavs Twitter. This isn't like anywhere on Mavs Twitter where people have sources or anything. London Hoops with 199. I'm going to be dumped. It's going to be Tobias Harris and Derek Jones Jr. extension, isn't it, mate? Just wait, love. Deep in Mavs Twitter, in the trenches, people have said, I'd trade Daniel Gafford. Enough so that it's like sparked some debates and arguments and stuff about who Daniel Gafford even get traded for. So I just wanted to include him to use it as a vehicle to discuss that. I don't think he gets traded. I guess there's a world where the Mavericks like really upgrade somewhere and they needed the salary. That would have to be a real significant upgrade. I don't see it at all. I don't get why the Mavericks would do that. There's been like people who are like, hypothetically, if Daniel Gafford could turn into a really great perimeter player, you have to do it. And it's like, I guess, but I mean, who is that even? Who is that? Like, what does that even look like? You know what I mean? These power friendship memes are so fucking funny, man. These are just so funny to me. I don't think the Mavericks move off of Daniel Gafford. That's not to say Daniel Gafford spends his whole career with the Mavericks. Definitely not. One of the benefits of trading for a guy like Daniel Gafford, and I said this at the time, I've said this in defense of the Mavericks when they're like, the Mavericks went all in. Daniel Gafford's a young guy who got the Wizards a first-round pick. His value is only going to improve playing alongside a playmaker like Luka. Like, that's somebody the Mavericks can trade down the line and be a valuable piece. I mean, if they wanted to this offseason, they could. I don't think they're going to do that, though. I don't think they're going to do that, so he stays. Tim Hardaway Jr., all right. So, he's getting traded? I mean, he's getting traded, right? At least we think. We've been down this road enough times. And look, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I found myself yesterday thinking about this, and I can't believe this is true, where I think there's a world, a very real world, where if the return is so trash, I don't think I'd mind bringing him back. I don't think I'd mind bringing him back and just having him as a trade asset at the deadline to match salaries. Just being honest with you. Like, that's if the return is so shit. I'm just being real. Like, if the return is so bad, it's like, do we have to dump him right now? I know that that's what they've done. But I do ultimately think they get it done. There's been enough smoke. I'm just suggesting it. I'm just suggesting it. I'm not even saying that it's what I want. I'm just saying. Enough smoke. This team makes sense. They were literally just involved in a salary dump move 1 fucking minute ago. I do think it's the Pistons. I mean, okay. And in this scenario, I do think that means Quentin Grimes comes to the Mavericks. I mean, all right. I'm not, like, super in love with it. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. This return scares me that the Timberwolves just had to trade the 37th pick in this draft with Wendell Moore Jr. just to dump Wendell Moore Jr. That actually kind of concerns me. And what... You guys are happy now? Thank you. And what this would be, I actually agree with you. I don't think Quentin Grimes is that great. Just being brutally honest. So I've seen people say that the Mavs would have to attach X, Y, and Z. I really don't think so. I don't think Quentin Grimes is that good. I think he's fine, but I don't think like the Pistons are like, no, we're not giving him up. 24, so he is young. Has shown enough flashes at times. I mean, let's not forget, he was at one point viewed untouchable. He was at one point viewed untouchable for the New York Knicks. 33% from 3 last year, including 14% from 3 with the Pistons. He missed, just looking at his game logs right here. Jesus. He's 0 for his last 17 from 3. So I don't think he left a great impression necessarily on the Detroit Pistons. He's a better version than Josh Green. Is he? And then he did get injured, yes. Is he, though? They're similar-ish, but I don't think they're that comparable. And I know people compare them all the time. But yes, I think Quentin Grimes is a much better defender. Better point of attack defender, just a better perimeter defender. Josh Green is a way better playmaker. Way better playmaker. And Quentin Grimes is a more willing shooter. But Josh Green does have the better percentages. I actually don't know how comparable they are, but they're comparable enough that if this were to happen, you do have to look at Josh Green and say, all right, what does this mean for Josh Green? Now, of course, this trade would open up the door for the Mavericks offering Derrick Jones Jr. the full mid-level. They say that's their number one priority. I'm just going to believe them. I think he stays with the Mavericks. I'm still not convinced it'll cost the full mid-level, to be 100% honest with you. Boo. I do think that there's a world, I guess, where the Sixers get so desperate that they're like, fuck it, 1 year, like a similar to Bruce Brown's deal. Derrick Jones Jr., we need you. So maybe the Sixers say, hey, Derrick Jones Jr., just wait a little bit, man. The Mavericks will offer you the full mid-level whenever. Just wait a little bit. If we don't get what we want, we'll pay you $20 million. But I also see a world where it's like $8 to $9 million for Derrick Jones Jr. We shall see. But they say they want to keep him, so. So what does this mean for Josh Green? You bring in Quentin Grimes, let's just say. I think Josh Green has his ceiling reached as just like a 7th or 8th guy. Nothing more, nothing less. Right? Don't necessarily see him developing into anything more than that. He's still young. What is he, like 23? Yeah, 23 years old. He'll turn 24 at the start of next season. Some great flashes here and there. He's really turned into a really, really efficient three-point shooter, even though he's very, he's not as trigger happy as you would hope at times. Very good energy guy. Not like a great point of attack defender or anything like that, but you're not suffering with him on the floor defensively. Now, I do think, just removed of like getting Quentin Grimes, him being 6'5" and being a guard, his fit's just kind of weird because if he shares the floor with Luka and Kyrie, he'd obviously probably have to guard a wing, and I think sometimes he's just a little too small for that, and it makes it a little bit awkward. But I think if the Mavericks wanted to make a move, I think Josh Green would have value for teams. I do. I think he'd move the needle in some trades. I do have him getting traded. Now where? Because the moment I click this, you guys will know who I have coming in return. There could be the Aussie. Does he join his Aussie brethren in Portland? Matisse Thybulle? This isn't necessarily what I would love to see happen, but it makes a little bit too much sense for me to completely and totally ignore. Washington is an option as well for Kyle Kuzma. Do they re-go to that? I think Washington would appreciate that. I think this team would still be trying to compete, and I think Josh Green would actually have some value for him. Golden State Warriors, along with Maxi Kleber, which would in return bring Andrew Wiggins, who apparently they're trying very hard to trade. It just makes a lot of sense to me. It's not even something I would necessarily do, but the pieces just match too well, in my opinion. And it's like what the Mavs have been doing lately, which is this, is it an overpay? I really don't know. Like, hey. I would not love this necessarily, but it kind of fits what the Mavs have done recently, which is we'll take distressed assets and hope for the best. And Wiggins, we have 8 of his 10 years of his career, maybe even 8.5, that have shown us, yeah, he's got some flashes, but he's rarely ever like fully checked in and, inefficient and frustrating. But then there was that 1.5-year stretch where it was like, oh, fuck. Where it was like, oh, shit. This was the guy who was the second best player on an NBA championship winning team. Just 2 years ago. It would be risky. And again, I'm not saying this isn't like what I would do off season. It just makes too much sense for me. The salaries, everything. It just matches. It matches. And Wiggins for Brook Lopez, okay, I guess. I think for the Warriors, this is a little bit more intriguing because you're splitting this Wiggins contract into two, similar to what the Mavs did with the KP contract, splitting that into two. $26 million, $28 million, and a $30 million player option. So if it doesn't pan out, you're stuck with that shit for pretty much the I'd say the entirety, the remainder of the Luka Kyrie window. I don't know what this would mean for the starting lineup. Who goes to the bench, Derrick Jones Jr. or PJ? One of them. I would have to imagine Derrick Jones Jr. Because Wiggins can be your point of attack guy defensively. And if the Mavericks, and this is where like the Mavericks sort of risk taking, Nico Harrison risk taking thing comes into effect. Paul, 23 months. If anyone can resurrect Wiggins' career, it's Luka. Here's the thinking with like the take a risk thing. If you get the Andrew Wiggins of 2 years ago, the Mavericks could win 55-plus games and are for sure an absolute top-tier favorite to return to the NBA Finals. Like, that would be a disgusting starting five. That would be a disgusting starting five. Luka, Kyrie, Wiggins, PJ Lively. Like, that's a great starting five. If you get the Wiggins that's been most of his career, I mean, you're still good. But it's definitely a trade where you're like, fuck. It just makes sense to me. Like the contracts, them wanting to get rid of Wiggins, the Mavericks' specific needs. It just makes a little too much sense. I mean, if he plays like how he did a couple years ago, his contract's not bad at all. His contract's great, actually. I don't know. Again, I'm not saying I would love this or anything like that, but if I'm just doing a predictive thing, I would say my surprise level 1 to 10 would be like 6 or 7, because it would be a little bit surprising to me. Because in my heart of hearts, I'm just gotta be real with you guys. I needed this to be a fun stream. In my heart of hearts, I don't think the Mavericks have an eventful offseason. I really don't. Tim with the $2. Wiggins costs about the same as Tim Hardaway Jr. and Maxey together. Yeah, Tim, this could be a Tim destination too. I just, in my heart of hearts, I really don't think the Mavericks do much at all this offseason. I think that they do whatever salary dump they need to do to bring back Derrick Jones Jr., and that's probably that. Yeah, everyone is getting better, but that's how it goes. Now let's stick to the Warriors. They could have an interesting offseason, huh? Lots of weird rumors and speculation there. Let's just start with Draymond. Surprise level. I have Draymond staying with the Warriors. But just, I wanted to mention him. Surprise level. Let's say Clay leaves. Which could happen. Let's say Clay leaves. You just traded Wiggins in my hypothetical scenario. Surprise level, 1 to 10 of the Warriors just being like, man, if one's gone, let's get what we can get for Draymond Green before he punches somebody in the face in his band a year. And now, like, we're stuck with Draymond Green's contract and he can't play for 82 games because he just punched Jaden McDaniels in the face on a random Wednesday night in November. 1 to 10, my surprise factor? 9. But if not 10, I'd be like, okay, I see where they're coming from. So, Clay unfollowed the Warriors on Instagram. What? I can't believe it. Not unfollowing the Warriors. The Magic make a ton of sense. I think the Sixers make sense. I mean, the teams with cap space make sense. Jake Fisher bomb? Is this a bomb or... Golden State is trading number 52 to OKC for Lindy Waters. That's an interesting one. Wait, what? There's some implications to that I'm not quite understanding. Could that just be the Warriors wanting a cost efficient guy? Pebble? That's a rock throw? Ooh. A Jake Fisher stoning? Jake Fisher stoning. Oh shit. No, OKC is trading a guy. Maybe that is OKC wanting to get rid of a player. Last night was a crucifix? Yeah. So, Clay. Lakers. I kept coming back to this for Clay. Are there any teams that are really willing to pony up and pay him a lot of money? Could see the Sixers getting desperate in doing it. The Magic maybe getting desperate in doing it. Would Clay want to go to Utah or Detroit? I doubt it. My surprise level if Clay were to leave would be about a 4. I wouldn't be that surprised. Mavs make sense. And then, okay, let's talk about the Mavs. Let's say the Mavs clear up the mid-level and Derrick Jones Jr. goes somewhere else. Would Clay want to come to the Mavericks on a mid-level? Maybe. But then I'm like, well, why the fuck would the Warriors not offer at least a mid-level? And then it's like, is Clay... Then it turns into, does Clay want to leave Golden State? That's what it would turn into. And I just don't think so, ultimately. I think he just returns. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. The teams with money, I don't see a team throwing Clay a bag, even though I think he's still a good player. Then it gets to like the mid-level. And if that's what Clay's getting offered, there's no way he's leaving There's no way he's leaving Golden State. Absolutely no way. And yes, there is an ego thing at play here. Like, he's going to get a contract from the Warriors. I know he unfollowed the Warriors. That's hilarious. That's a negotiation tactic. Like, I can imagine Clay talking to his agent. His agent's like, all right, listen, here's what you want to do. We're going to have to drive up your value a little bit. Get on Instagram. Unfollow him. I'll send out the press release that you unfollowed the Warriors on Instagram. Hilarious. Chris Paul. This is going to be such a funny picture to look back on in like 10 years. Chris Paul in a Warriors jersey, and you're like, oh, fuck, I forgot about that. Interesting player. Him and his option. When does he have to decide when to opt into his contract? Because that will tell us a lot. If Chris Paul opts into the contract, shit is about to get real. Because that becomes a very interesting trade piece. Oh, Warriors have to guarantee it? Okay, all right. June 28th. So we'll know that by tomorrow. All right, so if the Warriors pick up his option, shit becomes very, very real. Very real. Now, if they don't and he becomes a free agent, what would he demand in free agency? I don't know. And then it turns into, what does he want? Does he want the mid-level to go play with a team? Or does he want to go to a place where he feels like he can win, even if that means signing a minimum contract? They can extend the date. I bet that's what they end up doing. I'm assuming that he wants to go somewhere where he can help a team win, where he feels comfortable, even if it's not for a lot of money. And I think that's a reunion with the Clippers. There's some rumors there that this is a possibility. Suns reunion could be on the table as well. And there's also a rumor that the Clippers would love to have him back and that they're looking at Chris Paul and or Kyle Lowry to come help run point guard. So that makes some sense, right? Chris Paul. Shams bomb. It's my turn now. Oklahoma. Fuck, we already knew this. Oklahoma City is trading Lindy Waters to Golden State for number 52 pick. You're late, Shams. Our man Jake Fisher already did that. That's like a Sham firecracker. I was gonna say musket shot. Sham's musket volley. So Chris Paul to the Clippers. Jonathan Kuminga would have to be if the Warriors go big game hunting. I don't even know what that really looks like for them. There's been a lot of Paul George stuff, which would just be so. It's difficult to map out how the Paul George stuff makes sense, and I'm also like, why exactly? Like, I don't understand that move for a lot of parties involved. But wait a second. I think it happens. I actually think it happens. There's so much smoke here that I genuinely do believe that this is what happens. Like, there's so much smoke. The Clippers situation is so strange that it makes me think that they're kind of wanting to part ways. And I think the Warriors are going to be absolutely fucking desperate. And I've seen a lot of Warriors fans like, we would not do Kuminga in this deal. Buddy. If the Warriors are desperate enough to go after Paul George, Kuminga's going to be in the package. I'm telling you right now. Is it what the Warriors need? I'm not entirely sure. But I think they're reaching a desperation level. It could be Moody. But if I'm the Clippers and I feel like I now have the Warriors just like at my fingertips, where I'm teasing them with Paul George. Give me Jonathan Kuminga. There's just so much smoke here that I cannot ignore it. The Paul George situation is so fucking weird. My surprise level for this would be about a 7 because I do ultimately think this would be one of the more disappointing things where it's like free agency opens. It's like Paul George has agreed to a 4-year extension with the Clippers. And it's like, oh, okay. That was depressing and disappointing. The Sixers stuff is interesting. The Sixers just being like out on Paul George makes me feel as if he's going to stay with the Clippers and this is just kind of an open secret. Or that there's enough smoke elsewhere that they're like, we don't want to be involved if it's costing this much or whatever. So Paul George to the Warriors. So my surprise level of James Harden ends up on a new team is shockingly low. I was thinking about it. I think it'd be like a 5. I don't even think it'd be that high. I think it'd be like a 5. I think I'd be like, well, it's James Harden, man. It's James Harden. There's been enough 76. I've actually seen multiple 76ers people I follow just jokingly be like, I could see Harden coming back to the Sixers. Like, where it's like end of July and Harden's still a free agent and the Sixers haven't signed anyone, and it's like, well, would that not be fucking hilarious? I don't think it's gonna happen, but that'd be so funny. I mean, I think he's gonna stay with the Clippers, but I do. It's James Harden, so you have to factor in everything. Anything and everything is an option. Just a reminder that he's a free agent, though. Just remember that. Orlando? Daniel Tice. Why on earth am I including him? Some rumors that he might go to Europe. A lot of teams in Europe are interested in him. Buddy, go chase that ring. How many different times have you been on the fucking Boston Celtics? 8. Welcome back. Kind of makes some sense to me. They need a big. He can be their 14th guy. Just somebody who will take a minimum. How many stints would this have been in Boston? 1, 2. Oh, this would be a third stint. Bones Highland. What is his future? I actually don't have a team. I feel like he's getting moved. Maybe if there's a Paul George trade, maybe it would be he'd be attached to that and the Warriors get their Jordan Poole replacement finally. But I was looking through every single like rebuilding shit team that's like, maybe we need a tank commander. They all have a Bones Highland. They all have a guard who's like, dude, just go out and shoot 50 times. We don't give a fuck. They all have them. So I don't see a I don't think Bones Highland is a Spurs player. We are real sickos to have a Bones Highland slide. Suns actually kind of makes some sense. Russell Westbrook, where does he end up? I still think he can contribute to an NBA team. I got shitted on in a Locked On comment section because I've mentioned him. I think he enters next season a free agent. I think the season starts and he's a free agent. And I'm not trying to say this to be mean. I'm not trying to say this to be mean. I don't know. I think that he's like, I think he'd be comfortable holding out and waiting a little bit. But it sounds like the Clippers might be done with him though. Let's move on. Spencer Dinwiddie. Let's move on to the other team in LA. Let's speed this up maybe a little bit. We're 2 hours in. I don't know how many more slides I have, to be honest with you. Very disappointing stop. Very disappointing stop in LA after that very strange mini free agency tour he had between the Mavericks and the Lakers. Pretty underwhelming. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I think it makes sense. This would be one of the first calls I make if I'm the Mavericks. Let's make it happen. I think it actually makes sense. The Mavericks at times needed another guard off the bench who could score and do things. I can't imagine he goes for anything more than a minimum. I think it makes all the sense in the world. Boo! For a vet minimum, you guys wouldn't want. Went to the Western Conference Finals with him. Who's better, him or Exum? I think I'd rather have Exum play, but there's nothing wrong with having like good depth. I think I'd like it quite a bit, to be honest with you. D'Lo. Ooh. What happens with D'Angelo Russell? Now, full stop. For the longest time, I had him in Orlando. For the longest time. But then I saw some reports that scared me a little bit off of that. That no team out there will give D'Lo more than the team option or the player option that he has. Then another funny realization hit me. For all of the shit D'Lo does get, his level of importance on the Lakers last year was comical. It's funny how important D'Lo was to everything they had going on. And because of that, I think that he ultimately ends up staying again to be yet another pawn. Maybe another similar deal to the one he has now where it's like, hey, we're going to trade you. Just letting you know. Just sign this. I don't think the Lakers, unless they have plans to replace him, I don't think they can like afford to let D'Lo go, which is crazy to say. Braun. Come on, LeBron, put your Maverick jersey on. I guess I probably should have led with LeBron because it's obvious with all of the stuff that I've done so far. I don't think LeBron is coming to the Mavs. Would love it. But I don't think he's going anywhere, honestly. So I feel like we would for sure. Now, to be fair, Braun is pretty tight-lipped. Although I will say him going to the Lakers was like an open secret forever. But him going back to the Cavs in 2015 was like so shocking. I'll never forget where the fuck I was. I mean, that was like an insane thing that happened. But I feel like at this point, we would have heard real smoke if he was going to stay or leave. Woj? Is this an actual Woj bomb or is this another pebble? The Atlanta Hawks are trading. It's my turn now. Breaking news from the Slightly Biased News Desk. The Atlanta Hawks are trading forward AJ Griffin to the Houston Rockets for the 44th pick in Thursday's NBA draft. Yeah, his value is that low. He's been horrible. My God. All right, the salary dumps are happening. Come on. Come on, Timmy. The salary dumps are popping off. I fear our three-point shooting. I fear our sweet three-point shooting prince is about to ride off into the sunset. Is finally about to ride off into the sunset. Doesn't AJ Griffin have like really bad knee injuries too? It feels inevitable. Thank you, Tim Hardaway Jr. If this is it. Remember, guys, this will be my last stream until I return from Europe. So it's very possible that this is the last time I talk to you guys while Tim Hardaway Jr. is technically on the Dallas Mavericks roster. And what a journey it's been. In a lot of ways, I'm going to miss him. In a lot of ways, I'm going to miss him. Don't forget the good times, man. Don't forget the good times. Remember the times we had. The times that you and me had. Remember the times we had. Is Tim the last remaining piece from the KP Knicks trade? Yes. What up, XL Life? Never forget that 40-point game. He had 40-point games this year. Remember the days we had. All right. Let's get... All right, so if LeBron's not going to the Sixers, Paul George isn't going to the Sixers, what in the... are they up to? Let's start with their free agents. Nicholas Batum, who I promise you is probably going to get more money than you expect. I do think he stays with the Sixers. I think it'll end up being at a higher number. I've seen people be like, yeah, minimum. No. No way. Absolutely no way. He's got to get more than that. Fourth quarter yelling, why the fuck Batum in? Great role guy. I think he fits the Sixers really, really well. Really, really well. And at his age, man, just like how long has he been in the league? He's just had such a long career at this point. Such a weird career as well. 16 years, man. Holy shit. Damn. Kyle Lowry. Honestly, kind of forgot about Kyle Lowry. Was shocked, admittedly, to see that the Sixers want to bring him back, supposedly. All right, I guess. I don't really know what his market would be. Let's just say he wants to stay home as he's getting older, wants to be around his home in Philadelphia. 76ers. Okay. Buddy Hield, also a free agent. Not good during his time with Philly. They traded for him midseason. Apparently, they saw him working out in 76ers gear. He stays. I mean, they've got 3 fucking guys on the roster. They're going to have to bring a lot of these guys back. Kelly Oubre. They have the money to bring him back. I'm not entirely sure why they would let him go. I think he stays as well. I feel like he'd have a decent market, but DeAnthony Melton. Interesting player. Injured quite a bit. Only played in 38 games last year for the Sixers. I like him as a defensive guard. Shoot the 3 ball. Very interested to see where he would go. Would be good with the Bucks. I feel like he's a full mid-level guy. Vet Min? Oh. Is he not a full mid-level guy? Or close to it at least? No way, vet minimum. Maybe not full mid-level. I know he's hurt all the time. Walk with me here on this one. I think this is one of these classic team with salary cap, with cap space, team with money. Just like, we'll take a guy who's like been around winning situations. I think he makes some sense for Charlotte as like a bench guard that can like help them fucking play real basketball and play some defense on the perimeter and maybe hit some threes. Doesn't have to start, but when LaMelo Ball inevitably has an ankle sprain, he can go into the starting lineup. I think it kind of makes some sense. No, the Mavs should not be trading Kyrie Irving, guys. Come on. Come on. Seriously. Boo? Why are you booing this? There's no way you feel that. There's no way you feel that strongly about this. Oh, here he is. Here's that guy, Tobias Harris. Oh, now, my ideal scenario is the Sixers strike, just in terms of, I don't even hate the Sixers, but I just think it'd be fucking hilarious. The Sixers strike out. Why are we booing Tobias Harris? Come on, man. The Sixers strike out on all of their options. And Tobias Harris is still there in free agency. And they just say, you know what? Fine. We'll bring him back. Now, of course, you have Detroit, who's an option. A return there. I felt that's been inevitable for such a long time, but now I'm not so sure. Orlando, could he return there? I doubt it. Doesn't really make sense. Utah, there's been some buzz there. A lot of agent talk about Utah being really interested in him. I've looked it up, and every Utah fan that I saw talk about it was like, what the fuck? Why? So that, to me, sounds like agent speak. There was a report that I don't know if it really gained that much traction, but I saw it. I thought it was hilarious. Some reporter said that Tobias Harris's camp hit him up to write a very friendly article about his potential fit with the Dallas Mavericks, which is hilarious. If he's a mid-level guy, you guys know how I feel about that. I think that'd be interesting. Sign and trade with the Suns for Beal. I ultimately went with a younger team with cap space that might want a vet presence. I think the coach of this team would appreciate a lot of the things Tobias Harris does, to be honest with you. I'm not entirely sure what the contract would look like or anything like that. Yes, I do think it's the Spurs. I don't think he's going to get like 30 or 40 million. But can I see the Spurs being like, here's 1 year 20 or something? Maybe. Maybe. Could definitely see Detroit. Hornets for Tobias makes more sense to me than a small guard. He would just take the 3 to 4 year mid-level. Maybe. Maybe he feels like he can rehab his value a little bit. The Spurs are rumored. They're one of the destinations. Simon Fontecchio! Restricted free agent. I need you guys to understand how rare it is for restricted free agents to change teams. I think he stays with Detroit. Interesting player, though. Interesting player. Mav. Isaiah Stewart, Beef Stewington. Lots of trade talk about him. I think it might be time to rip that Band-Aid off. The idea of Isaiah Stewart's better than reality. I'm telling you that right now as somebody who's most certainly watched more Pistons games in the last 2 years than any non-Pistons, most other non-Pistons fans can say. But there is that floor spacing ability that he provides. Beef Stew is a king. I actually agree. I think that's a fit that makes a lot of sense. I think that's a fit that makes a good amount of sense. We talked about Bobby Portis making some sense. For the Kings, because he's a big who can kind of space the floor and play next to Sabonis. I think Isaiah Stewart fits that similar mold. I've seen OKC. I don't think he really does what they want. Grizzlies do make some sense as well. Pacers, I could potentially see that. So I guess in this, I would have Kevin Huerter going to the Pistons. Huerter had a real down year last year. So much so that it's like muddied his future a little bit with them. Like he was teetering on just like straight up being bad last season. Could see him back in Sacramento, but if there's a trade that they like, I definitely see him being included in the option. No, I didn't put Patrick Williams on here. I think he stays. But what else do the Kings do? Davion Mitchell. I have the Kings getting busy. I'm not going to lie to you. It really interested me that they were apparently very aggressive in the Caruso thing. I think they might have learned their lesson, and we might see kind of like an overcompensation. I think we might see them overcompensate for what happened last year, where they stood pat a little too much and then eventually ended up missing the play-in tournament entirely. Or, I'm sorry, the playoffs. Lost in the play-in tournament after being the 3 seed. Wizards, you do the math. Harrison Barnes, Wizards, do the math. Kuzma to the Kings. I predicted this last year, I think. I think it makes sense. Now, with all of the moves I've made them make, how does this roster make sense? Kuzma, Najee Marshall, and Isaiah Stewart all joining the team. You can't have too many of those guys, though. Just throwing darts at the wall and hoping some of them stick. Kuzma's championship team is the Kings. Kings have 8 guards. They definitely need to be active on the trade market. Yes. And they drafted a guard last night. This fit makes some sense. Tyus Jones could end up being one of the more underrated and appreciated players on this free agent market. Teams that desperately need a creator, an on-ball creator, could be looking this way. Spurs, definitely an option. Memphis, obviously an option. Back to Memphis. He won't go to Orlando. Why is that? Tell me why that is, because that's what I have. Did I miss something? That makes a ton of sense to me. Did I miss something? Because maybe I don't know. It just makes a lot of sense. They need a point guard, a playmaker, a creator. Nuggets would be good. Yeah, the Nuggets just have no way to get them. Aaron did own me. Now I'm scared. What am I missing? Are we going to get a follow-up? How many more do I have? I knew this would be a long stream. I was hoping it'd be shorter. I have a lot of things that I need to fucking do. I'm scrambling. All right. I respect that. He won't go to Orlando. That's it. Goodbye. Okay. Doesn't fit the Weltman type. Oh, okay. Interesting. Too small? Is that what it is? Get to the good players? We've done plenty of good players. Colin Sexton's a good player. What did the Utah Jazz do? What did the Utah Jazz do? I could see where they're a world where they're aggressive. In either direction, whether that's actually making moves to get better or making moves to get worse. Sexton D'Lo swap makes a lot of sense to me. But like, why would the... I actually thought about Sexton. Going to the Lakers. And I kind of had that penciled in a little bit. I have him ultimately staying. I guess for me, the thing with the Jazz is they've always been a little bit patient, especially with Danny Ainge. I don't think they're in a rush to like trade Colin Sexton right now, and they really don't have to. You know what I mean? Walker Kessler. What the fuck is going on here? This is one of the more confusing storylines of the early offseason, in my opinion. What is going on here? I'm just like, these rumors that he's available for trade make zero sense to me at all. Coach doesn't want that kind of center. Shams, this better be good. It's my turn now. I don't even see it. Did he delete it? Phoenix, Eric Gordon is declining his $3.4 million player option. What is up with these salvos? Somebody dropped the real bomb. I love any time a player is available. Mavs. I think Walker Kessler stays. I don't really get a lot of this stuff with him. Markkanen, I think he stays as well. My surprise meter 1 to 10. If Lowry were to get traded, would be about a 7. I'd be shocked. I'd be a little bit surprised, but I wouldn't be like blown away. Obviously, we saw the Knicks just say fuck it. We want Mikal Bridges. 5 first-round picks. People think that's an overpay. I don't give a shit. We want him. Could there be a team out there that is like, okay, we want Lowry. We don't care. We'll overpay. I just think it'll be so expensive to get him. And I agree. I think the Thunder should do it. I think that'd put them right at the tippity top. But we shall see. Zach LaVine, where the hell does he end up? China? The Chicago Bulls have been shopping him for what feels like my entire life. Is this the year they finally make it happen? So I'm going to be real with you. I have him getting traded. Now, can we pinpoint the team? Hornets, Jazz, Kings. So I've seen so much Kings buzz. I don't really get that. My God, 43, 45, 48. Holy fuck. Lakers, Orlando. It's a team that I haven't seen brought up at all. And maybe I'm a huge dumbass. But it makes sense to me in light of recent events. Where I'm just kind of like, you know what? Why the hell not? Like, why the fuck not? Yeah, Brooklyn Nets. Like, if you're Brooklyn, genuinely, why not? He's not going to be good enough to ruin your tank. And you're now left with, like, nothing. So, best case scenario is you bring in Zach LaVine. And, hey, you know what? He actually is healthy and is playing really, really well. Healthy and playing really well. And maybe we can now flip him for something. Or, if he's bad, so what? We're going to be shit the next 2-3 years anyways. Like, we're going to be shit the next 2 to 3 years anyways. We're trying to tank and get young guys. We don't care. We'll pay Zach LaVine. It does not matter to us. Which does mean have Ben Simmons going to the Bulls. Sure. I mean, it would have to be Ben Simmons plus other things to make the salary cap work here. I mean, you could say all you want. He's an expiring contract now. Just to make the salaries work. The Bulls get off of that long-term salary. Vucevic, they're going to try to trade him. Let me tell you right now, no one's going to want his ass. You can try to trade him all you want. Portugal, I can tell you right now, probably not getting traded. Can't imagine a world where he gets traded. Toronto, Lakers kind of make some sense. Just imagining now this Bulls team. Ben Simmons, Vucevic, Josh Giddey. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. Andre Drummond. Now this is former future Mav right here. In years past, we'd be saying Mavs. But I think still a great, solid backup center. Lakers, Denver, definitely an option. The Nuggets. I think he goes back to the Sixers and backs up Embiid. He was really, really good there. I think this does make some sense. Backup center. Bring him back. Andre Drummond on the move yet again. Kyle Anderson. How many more of these do I have? Kyle Anderson. Interesting free agent option. Very bad postseason, like borderline unplayable postseason. Can't shoot the 3-ball. I do think he stays in Minnesota with their salary cap options. I just don't think that they have a. I don't think that they have the juice to do much else. So I think he ends up staying. What else do we got? Obi Toppin, interesting restricted free agent. I think he stays with Indiana. Again, restricted free agents, it's just so hard. So hard to pry them away. KCP, I think we have a lot more left. Fuck me. KCP quietly becoming one of the more intriguing free agents. Now let's talk about this for the Nuggets. I think he leaves. I think he's gone. Very quietly now, the Nuggets have lost like pretty valuable role players and what would be back-to-back off seasons with Bruce Brown leaving, but KCP's absence is going to hurt them way more. And they're really, really, really banking on their young guys stepping up. And if it doesn't, then they lose quite a bit. Honestly, they lose quite a bit. KCP giving you that point of attack defense to go along with the 3-point shooting. They have other guys who can fill the point of attack defense, hole that KCP might leave. But not the full package where there's the shooting as well. They desperately need Peyton Watson to be good. They need Christian Brown to be good. They need all of their centers that they've drafted to be good. And to me, this is I think the Sixers are a perfect fit. They have the cap space. It does not sound like there's a lot of big fish there for them. But I think this would be a really good get for them, especially if it's like a shorter term contract. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think that might be better for the Sixers in the long run, just to like kind of load up on great, really strong role players instead of like real big fish hunt, or settle. Like going for Paul George makes sense with their cap space and their window. Obviously LeBron, obviously whoever else might be available. But it's like settling for Brandon Ingram. Nah. Mitchell Robinson. In trade talks, if they lose Isaiah Hartenstein, I don't think they can trade him. If they keep Isaiah Hartenstein, they obviously have to trade him. I think he stays, which obviously means I think Isaiah Hartenstein is leaving. My surprise factor if Isaiah Hartenstein stays with the Knicks probably be like a 4. It really wouldn't shock me that much if he ends up wanting to stay there. Yeah, I think OKC just makes so much fucking sense. So much sense. They have the money to make it happen. So in my scenario for the Thunder, and I mentioned this, apparently there were podcasts that had the same exact offseason. Caleb Martin, Isaiah Hartenstein, they don't get like a big, well, I guess they already got Caruso, but they don't get like a star level player, but they end up getting 3 really, really good rotation players who can play in the playoffs, and you're comfortable with that. Hartenstein can play center. Chet can play the 4. You could have some disgusting defensive lineups. And Hartenstein, capable enough offensively, a good playmaker as well. He fits what they're doing to a T. Like, I think that's a match made in heaven right there. But it also wouldn't surprise me if he liked New York enough that he's willing to take a little bit of a pay cut to stay there. And then that means Mitchell Robinson does end up getting traded. And then where is that? I don't know. I think Mitchell Robinson makes more sense on a team like you guys are saying. Hornets. Something like that. Hartenstein linked to Orlando too. Jeremy Grant. Now, I guess you guys could just use process of elimination with all the other teams I've had. I think he ends up staying. I am doing a Jeremy Grant video tomorrow, though, because I'm like 50-50. I could 100% see him getting traded. And if he does end up getting traded, yeah, I think the Mavericks are a possibility. The Sixers are a possibility. The Kings are a possibility. Really, any serious team is a responsibility. A possibility. See, I disagree that he's not a good fit with the Mavs. I think he'd fit really well. But ultimately, I think they hold on to him. There's not like a huge rush to trade him. If the market's not there, I think you can just kind of wait. But, you know, them getting Denny and stuff does make it interesting. Now they have enough forwards where it's kind of awkward. Oh, I guess, okay, this is the last one. Kevin Durant. Oh, you got to include Kevin Durant every offseason. Look. Maybe it's just because Kevin Durant has made himself such an easy target. That's like, guys, just make Kevin Durant trade rumors this offseason. Like, fuck it. Who cares? Like, he's been in trade rumors his whole entire career at this point. Like, the last 7 or 8 off seasons of his career, it feels like Kevin Durant could get traded. There's been enough smoke with him over the last 6 or so months that it's like, okay, I think that there's a possibility. I think that there's a possibility Kevin Durant could get traded. He's 35 years old. The Suns were very disappointing last year. Anybody with a set of eyes can look at their roster and realize that that's not a team that's going to make any serious waves, more than likely, and they don't really have a lot of avenues to improve the roster. He'll be 36 by the time next season starts. Damn. I think at this point, I'd be very, very surprised if Kevin Durant, who has 2 years left on his deal, I'd say I'd be surprised if he finishes that deal. I'd be very surprised if he retires on the Suns, obviously. I don't think that will happen. The Rockets getting all of the Suns picks to bully them if the Suns were to falter again and to say, hey, we got all your picks if you want to trade KD or Devin Booker. So funny. So funny that they did that. I don't think he gets traded. Whoa. Wait a second. Houston, with all of the Suns' picks, makes a play? No, I'm just kidding. I have him staying in Phoenix. I don't get why that would happen with Phoenix, to be honest with you. Or with Houston. I don't get the logic there. Just, I don't get why they would do that. It makes no sense to me. Trading for a 36-year-old Kevin Durant. Now, I think that they're just posturing. I think that they're kind of bullying the Suns by having all their picks. I think they want Devin Booker. I think that's probably their end goal, if I had to guess. I think it's their end goal that they want Devin Booker. And they're just saying, yeah, we want Kevin Durant. But reality is, they want D-Book. And that's it. That's the end of the stream. Yeah. Thank you. So, do you think Tim Hardaway Jr. will only be a salary dump, or do we get Grimes too? I guess we'll wait and see. All right, we are clocking in at 2 hours and 40 minutes. I want to see real quickly here what my stream last year was. So, what do you guys think? If this was the offseason, would it be crazy? Combined already with some of the crazy trades we've seen? I think it'd be a pretty crazy trade, or a pretty crazy offseason. All right, that was my stream last year was only 3 hours. No, I'm not going to Slovenia. I think that'd be a solid offseason. Paul George goes to the Warriors. Like, that would be kind of crazy. Well, I have to go. I cannot linger. Although I do want to linger because I will not talk to you guys live on this channel at least. I'll be live on Bleach Report tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. But I will not be live on this channel at least until July 12th. Mark it down on your calendar. Partha. 21 months. KD Smoke could be subterfuge for a book trade. I think it could be. But I have to go. I have so much shit I have to do in the next 48 hours. What grade would you give the Mavericks if they had this offseason? I'd give them a very strong, I think A-. I think that'd be a good offseason for them, actually. Who do the Mavs get via your predictions? Wiggins, Quentin Grimes. Bring Derrick Jones Jr. back. July 12th, I think 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. Slightly unplugged. I cannot wait. I'm looking forward to it. The idea, of course, is that whenever I'm gone on vacation, I'm just going to delete pretty much any media source from my phone and just enjoy life for a couple weeks. Come back, hopefully knowing as little as possible. I do think some shit will inevitably slip through the cracks, but knowing as little as possible about free agency, hopefully knowing zero. And Nick will, Nick will tell me what I missed. I think it has potential to be one of the better streams of this channel's history. Of course, hoping that some crazy shit goes down. It'll be a little underwhelming if nothing crazy happens, but either way, I'll be coming back to new information. I mean, I thought that I'm gonna have to delete Twitter, YouTube, Reddit, Instagram, Facebook, the NBA app. I'm trying to think what else. I'm probably gonna have to delete like any news publications that send me notifications because you never know. Discord. What's shitty is Spotify, low key, because I'm Bleach Report, yeah. Spotify because I'm like the podcasts I listen to there are sports podcasts. So if I open it and just see like dissecting the blah 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 trade, I'm like, fuck. Another thing I thought about that I'm happy I thought about now, emails, because you might not think about it. I'm just gonna check my email real quick. I'm subscribed to like newsletters and stuff. Just leave your phone and computer at home. What about your NBA friends at home that text you the news? They'll know. They'll know not to hit me up. I can't leave my phone at home for 2 whole fucking weeks, man. That is in today's world, that's just not a real thing I can do. You like genuinely can't even do that. Last time I was in London, at least, like you almost had to pay with Apple Pay for everything. July 12th. July 12th is when I'm landing, and then I'm coming home and immediately going live. Immediately. No time to rest. Anyways, love you guys very much. Slightly unplugged. I want to, I'm going to schedule some tweets. I want to keep the hype up, keep the hype going. Slightly unplugged on Twitter. Interact with my scheduled tweets. They're going to be scheduled tweets. I'm not going to tweet anything but I'm going to schedule a tweet every day. That way there's just some funny tweets and stuff. It should be a lot of fun. I cannot wait. It'll fly by, guys. It'll fly by. Thank you all for coming out. All the OGs, you guys know I love you very much. Could have spent your Thursday afternoon anywhere in the world. You decided to spend it here. New subscribers, I promise you guys not regret it. Donations, members, you never have to do that, but it helps me out tremendously. It makes me feel so good. Jeremy Grant video tomorrow. I will be on Locked On Mavs tonight after the second round, by the way. So there you go. And then on top of that, Bleach Report stream tomorrow, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. So there's still, I'll still be doing stuff between now and tomorrow. But yes, this will be the last time I'll be live streaming on this YouTube channel. Unless some crazy shit happens in the next 48 hours. And there's an emergency stream, but we shall see. Like if there's a Tim Hardaway Jr. Salary dump, I'm not going to emergency stream. All right, guys. Goodbye. I love you all. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the next 2 weeks. Love you all. Bye.